Hey folks, it's Chef Kevin. Beef Wellington. Who would have thought about encasing a piece of beef into puff pastry? Well, the English did several hundred years ago, and it's become a classic recipe. You can still find it at some of the higher end restaurants here in the US. Now this is a fairly complicated recipe because there's a lot of steps, and the more steps there are to anything, the more chances of a mistake. But I'm going to show you how to do it nice and slowly. Okay, let's take a closer look here. I have a fair amount of ingredients here, so let's go over them. Okay, the main player here is the filet mignon, and this is the cut that it should be, and that's about 8 ounces. It should be between 7 and 8 ounces, and this is a portion for one person. Now the other way you can make beef Wellington is you take the whole piece of meat and cover it with the puff pastry and all that, but this is an individual beef Wellington. I'm only making one, and that's because I'm the only one eating tonight. Okay, so that said, and that was an expensive cut. That's why you can't make a mistake on this. That was $33. Sorry, it's 33 bucks a pound, so it's $16 for that piece of steak. I also have some Parma ham here, and you'll see what I do with this later on. I have 2 pieces of garlic. I have an onion. I have about 6 ounces of mixed mushrooms, and this goes inside the puff pastry. It's not just a steak, it's mushrooms, which is called duxelle. That goes into the puff pastry. Mustard, cheese. This is Parmesan cheese. This is not traditional at all, but it works out well with this recipe. I have a little Merlot here, salt and pepper, of course, and some butter. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is sear off the steak. Okay, the first thing I did is patted off any excess blood, and then I coated it generously with salt and pepper on all sides. Now the point here is just to sear it off on all sides, and that gives you a nice flavor. I'm not cooking it in this pan. This gets cooked in the oven. So I just want to get a little sear started here. And as you can see, that really doesn't take much time at all. Get that heat up pretty high too. Do the sides. And that's basically it. I'm going to take it out and put it in the refrigerator. Next thing to do is to start my mushrooms. Okay, these are my mushrooms. I have a mix of mushrooms in here. This is about 6 ounces. Now you're looking at it and you're probably thinking that's a lot of mushrooms for one portion, but it's not. Mushrooms are like 95% water, and all this is going to saute down to maybe a half a cup of mushrooms. Now you can use a food processor, but I don't like doing that. I have more control over my mushrooms if they're in a larger state. I think the food processor just makes it a little too small. I just remembered I had this tool. This is a scraper, but for something like this, it makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to chop this pretty fine. This is called the duxelle. Okay, almost there, but I'm going to turn the camera off because that's not very entertaining. Okay, this is pretty much what it should look like. Now, if you do make too much, you can use this in another recipe, say like a stuffed chicken breast or a stuffed piece of fish. It goes well with just about anything. Okay, let's go back over to the range. Okay, I'm using the same pan as I did the steak. Why dirty another pan? It has a little residual oil in that, and it has some fond that's full of flavor in the bottom there. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's going to release the fond. Mushrooms in. A couple of teaspoons of sea salt. Now all that butter is going to get absorbed by the mushrooms and give it a ton of flavor, and lower that heat a bit. Okay, that still has a ways to go. Put my onions and garlic in there. All that liquid has to be out of there. Little black pepper. Gonna put some fresh thyme in there. Going to put a little red wine in there. You can use vermouth or sherry, but that's a little too sweet for me, so I'll stick with the dry red wine. Turn that up a bit, get that going. Okay, this is going to take a few more minutes. Okay, my duck salad is ready to get pulled. There's no liquid in the bottom of the pan, which is exactly what you want. You can see how much it reduced. Everything is nice and caramelized. The onions, the mushrooms, the garlic, and this smells so great. Okay, what I'm going to do now is put it in a bowl and then put it in the fridge. Now the reason why I'm putting it in the fridge is because, number one, it's easier to handle when it's cold. It's easier to retain the shape. And also, you don't want any warm ingredients on the puff pastry, or else it'll start falling apart on you. So that's why I'm doing that. Okay, in the fridge. So here is my phyllo dough classic puff pastry. This is what I was able to get. I'm not going to make my own crust just for one steak. It's not worth it. Put a little flour down. This is fairly thick and it's uneven, so I'm just going to roll that out a little bit. I want to retain a squarish figure. I'm not making a pizza here. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, I got it nice and flat, pretty even. I have some Parmesan cheese here. And this is not something you would usually do in a classic beef Wellington, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now, this is actually upside down. The cheese will be at the top when it's ready to be cooked. So I'm putting the cheese down first. That way, it'll melt into the duck cell very nicely. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove that little piece of butcher's twine. Don't need that. going to cover this in Parma ham. And what this does is it helps keep the pastry from getting overly soggy, and it adds an extra layer of taste. Okay. Now I'm going to take some mustard and put it on top. Now I'm going to flip this over and on top of the duxelle. This also has a nice salty taste to it too. And this is Coleman's mustard. It's an English mustard, so it's got to be very useful on an English recipe. Do you agree? Okay. Gonna add some more of that beautiful duxelle. That's the bottom of it. Okay. What I'm going to do now is wrap this in stretch wrap. Make it nice and tight. Now the next thing to do is put it in the freezer for 15 minutes, or put it in the fridge for a couple of hours. And you want to do that because you want this to maintain the shape. And you also want to make sure that oh, sorry about that, I just lost my whole train of thought. You want to make sure that the puff pastry is cold when you cook it. This way it'll come out nice and flaky, nice and crispy. Okay, I have a little duxelle left. Maybe I'll make a taco later on. Okay, I'm going to put this in the fridge for a couple hours, and then I'm going to start cooking it. Okay, so this has been in the refrigerator overnight, actually, because I got sidetracked with this and that and was unable to finish the video, but that's okay. Okay, so this has been in the refrigerator for 24 hours, and what I'm going to do now is just give it a little egg wash, which is nothing more than an egg and a little water. Now this is really nice and cold. Okay, I have a little piece of leftover dough here. And I'm going to show you how artistic, I almost said autistic, artistic I am. And I'm going to take a cookie cutter and cut out some star-shaped pieces of dough. And I'm going to put 5 stars on here because this is going to be a 5-star meal. One more. Now you can get very artistic and draw lines and this and that. I'm not going to get too crazy. That's it. Okay, I have a sheet pan here. Table's getting a little crowded. Parchment paper. Don't want that to stick. Okay. This is going to be a 5-star meal. It's going in the oven right now, 425 degrees, 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to monitor it with a thermometer. I'm going to pull this at about 125 degrees. It'll continue to cook a little further, and then this is going to be a perfect medium rare. So here we have it, folks. Chef Kevin's beef Wellington. Serving that with white rice with some mixed vegetables. As you can see, it's nice medium rare. Now I had a bit of a kitchen accident. The sauce, the homemade sauce that I was making, accidentally fell over into the sink. So I have no homemade sauce, but what I'm going to use is one of my favorite commercial sauces. It's a simple A1 sauce. It goes great on steaks. So let's take a look-see here. Deconstruct this a bit. You can see the cheese here. Can't wait to taste this. Nice medium rare. You can see the cheese. Wow. The crust. The crust with the cheese, it's like a pizza almost. Oh, it's falling apart on me. Beautiful. This is so tender. Now, filet mignon is part of the tenderloin, beef tenderloin, so it is very tender. However, it's one of the least tastiest steaks out there. So what you have to do is you have to add a fat to it, or you add other interesting elements like the puff pastry, like the cheese, and it just all comes together quite nicely. It's one of my stars. That is one of the tastiest steaks I've had in a long time. Okay, folks, it's getting late. This is going to be my dinner for the evening. Hope you enjoy this video. And this is not really that hard to make. You just need to focus and just learn how to do things. This would be a great dish for a special occasion. We got Valentine's coming up soon. Make it for your friends. They'll be really impressed. Okay, folks, this is Chef Kevin, and if you like me, you like my videos, then throw me a friggin' bone here.
Throw me a frickin' bone here.